Okay, so we need to discuss something. Ever since I saw the leaks, and by the way, Muso, no gameplay screenshot audio, so you don't have the legal ground to think this video. Anyways, ever since I saw the leaks, the initial leaks, of course, the reason I watched the leaks was because of the reaction. At first, I was like, it's just fans or reacting as always. Look at God of War or Red Dead Redemption 2 demo. Hence, I went in with straight mind, focused on straight as in open-minded, not just straight. What do I get in return after watching the leaks? Boy, oh boy, I get a lot in return. There's a huge wave of people rightly and justifiably mad and upset over the fact that 7 years of waiting led to this. Not to mention putting trust in the vision, especially when you said it yourself to trust your vision. It breaks my heart and makes me sad than anything else. But of course, the question here is, how could you say something like that if you haven't even played the game? I could have understood that argument, but we have seen with our own very eyes the main plot. The main plot is already out there in the gameplay leaks. If I hadn't seen that golf club session, if I hadn't seen with my own very eyes a player playing as a character, maybe I wouldn't have never made this video, and maybe I would have never made any video for The Last of Us, and I would have just bought it, still playing the game anyway. But what is the big issue here? So to understand The Last of Us 2 story, we have to rewind all the way to 2013. Last of Us, the original game. It achieved something staggering, something magnificent, getting both graphical and gameplay section covered as best of its generation. These were not the only selling points, by the way. It was the story. We all know exactly why we loved the story, and to many people it may be different interpretation of how it has impacted their lives, but the main plot remains the same for everyone. Everyone emphasized with Joel, but here's a good one. When the game switches the character to Ellie, the person Joel has been saving the entire time, you sympathize with Joel even more, because now you got to play as someone who's your favorite character, aka Joel, was trying to save and protect the entire time. And seeing the world from this special person to Joel, that experience was special. And it's also not just random, hey, you're running out of ideas, play as Ellie. No, it was smartly executed, making you feel vulnerable. Transition was smooth, giving it a more reasonable logic to play as Ellie. How? Listen, it was bound to happen. Sooner or later, it is a dangerous world. You're probably gonna get injured, attacked, something bad will happen to you. The question is, how are you gonna react to it? How are you gonna deal with it? Ellie, that's how you transition characters. This is where we see the bond of theirs becoming even more stronger. I really felt surprised that the entire game, not even once, Joel ever accidentally called Ellie Sarah. Not even in the giraffe scene. Oh my god, why did I remind myself of that? I always thought that it was a wasted opportunity. Matter of fact, we got it the other way around. Ellie mentioning Sarah to Joel.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel, but I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad. And we are going our separate ways.
Get it together. We're not alone.
Emotional time. But the ending is where it's at. The ending is what made this game stand its ground for 7 long years, and thanks to the leaks, this game, 2013 one, will stand its ground beyond that, leaving it like that, the almost perfect writing for Ellie, because Joel's character is what any man would do for someone like Ellie in an apocalypse. That's why he's so much easier to relate to. But Ellie, her behavior has been a little bit unpredictable, and seeing their relationship, that is where the game broke me personally from inside out. But now, here comes the pain. Last of Us 2. Alright, let's get some stuff out of the way. Let's get to the good stuff for The Last of Us 2. Does this game look like a PS5 exclusive? Absolutely. Does this game has incredible, impressive graphics? Does it pushing the limit of combat, gameplay, environment? Absolutely. It may be, like I said in the previous video, could be the game of the year thanks to these combat and gameplay and environment. So much work has been put into it. Can't take away that part from them. However, we gotta bring the main soul of that franchise back, the story. Okay, I'm not not even gonna waste any more time. The biggest problem with The Last of Us 2 is Abby. Yep, boys, I said it here, you heard it here, faced first. Abby is the biggest problem. More specifically, this woman from PGW trailer is the biggest problem for The Last of Us Part 2. You can leave the video now. No, seriously, we need to dial it a little bit back. Let's add some key points here. The fact of the matter is, Last of Us is known for Joel and Ellie, their story, and whilst no one has issues with bringing and making players play as new characters in a beloved story, many newcomers may not realize this, but the biggest part of us liking the game in the first place was Joel, not Ellie. Well, at least not initially. I know this is going to be controversial, but hear me out. Ellie was a child. Joel was put into a position where he has to take care of this child. Someone who's not willing to cooperate in this intense world. Story is about how Joel puts his own emotions of losing his own daughter and raising and taking care of another girl that resembles his own daughter. Whilst the story pans out to Ellie trusting Joel and both their bond, father-daughter relationship. That, boys, is what I like to call a pure classic writing, a piece of art where real men and legends cry. But Last of Us 2, we shift our gears to Ellie. No worries, an adult, mature Ellie learned from the best in the town, Joel. But the question is she ready to make choices and sacrifices and consume pain and agony like Joel did? That is a fantastic plot to sell to its core audience and add new ones too, and give them another reason to buy the first game and encourage already played players to go back and play the game, re-experience it. But how do they execute it? That's the biggest question. At this point, you might be wondering, why am I so focused on the first game? Because after watching the leaks with my own very eyes, including the guitar scene that is everyone forgetting, I came to the notion that yes, whilst the social justice bullcrap, Joel's fate, all of that may have been the drive point for this outrage. See how I didn't mention Dina and Ellie, because that outrage already happened when the gameplay trailer dropped. Abby is the main event of them all. She, in my personal opinion, is fueling the fire even more, and Naughty Dog and Sony hiding that character, not showing her or talking about her in gameplay to the community at all, it's gonna be bad for them. Not to mention the fact that according to the rumors that claims to be the leaks, you're going to play at least 30% of the game as her. Some even goes as far as to say 4 hours. That is still 30%, and that is still 4 hours of playing someone that just did a horrible thing. Now wait, let's dial a little bit more back. What horrible thing, you may be asking? Golf club session. You guys already know that, but you know the effed up part about all of this? It's in the leaks. Right after golf club session, it got spat on in front of everyone. That is just pure disrespectful. It is a massive deal because the whole game is still being selling with the plot that Joel is still alive, you're gonna play as Ellie, and they ain't moving forward from those characters. They're annihilating them. If you feel that I am overreacting or people who are genuinely upset are overreacting, I would say go back to 2013, play the game, wait for 7 years, and learn this happened to your beloved character, and you play as someone who just did that to your favorite character, and you're supposed to sympathize and care about them. That's how we feel. Not to mention that when you're playing as that character, you're supposed to hunt the only person left that you cared about in the first game. But in an apocalypse, everyone knows that everyone is trying to survive. It's not the Dina Ellie lesbian story. Sure, it is a bit forced, but we don't care about that, trust me. Neither do we care about some trans character. By the way, it does not confirm if there is a trans character, but I just had to point that out. It's about not respecting the content that drove the success of the franchise. It's about spitting it literally in the face. But here's even more ridiculous part about all of this. Nobody knew who Abby was until like, what, seconds ago? 9 seconds ago? 7 seconds ago? The problem is not with the character itself, but how insignificant everything else becomes right after. Like, sure, you could say, oh, an NPC's family member is returning to hunt us after what we've did. We are truly unsafe in this world. No shit, even the people we don't care about are just gonna gun into the room to shoot us first, talk later. That is just basic apocalyptic story 101. Joel, Ellie, Tommy, like, they're completely out of the picture. Neil Druckmann said it himself that he can't imagine the story without Joel and Ellie. That's what we fans see this franchise as. And you're telling me that we gotta play as someone who did that thing and now the only piece of Joel left, spoilers alert, are the visions? What? In order for players to care about NPCs in video games and their family members to have a potential role sometime later, there has to be a substance. There has to be enough substance for players from the get-go to care about them. It took a long time to build characters like Marlene, Tess, Tommy, heck even David. If Abby was to replace with David, I am telling you 70% of the overreaction would have been gone because you know exactly what happened and you've actually spent time with David. You've actually seen his both side. You cared about that part of the story. So in a sequel, there's already so much to pick from that players will actually care about, and it'll encourage newcomers even more to buy the first game. But anyways, the only way to solve this issue in my personal opinion, especially after Golf Club session, because there is no recovery from that I can guarantee you, is either reduce Abby's 30% as much as possible or reveal a giant twist that Abby has a personal connection against Joel that goes back to not just last-minute, half-assed NPCs, but someone whom Joel had shared any emotional moment, either a good, sad, angry, but at the same time, this is important because at the end of the day, it is players who are going to experience and buy the game, that the players must have experienced that as well, must have felt that as well, either good, bad, whether you want them to feel that personal way, as long as they got a reaction, players, you're good to go. Then players will truly understand the complexity of what has happened, which, let's face it, ain't gonna happen because leaks are out there. But overall, it's just a thought to make it a likable story at the very least. Last point, if Last of Us 3 is a thing and the leaks are true, I will officially remove Last of Us 2 from the canon universe of this franchise.